3, and we're live. Welcome to Talking Art. I am Arizona Lowe, and with me is Mark Myhaver, co-hosting. Hi, Mark.
Hey, how you doing?
I'm doing wonderful today. How are you?
I'm great.
Good. And also with us is Joyce Dickens. She's a wonderful photographer. Joyce, hi. Welcome to the show.
Oh, thank you. Thank you both. I'm honored to be here.
Good to have you.
Thank you.
Okay, so I'm going to do the housekeeping part first. You can follow us on Twitter at Today's Visions or at Arizona Lowe, either one. You can find our website at todaysvisions.com. And I want to do the shout-out. Our shout-out today is for Tom Coleman. Tom has spent a lot of time creating videos that are just fabulous as far as walking you through all the great tools that you can use on social media. And I highly encourage everyone to go out and take a look at what he has on YouTube. You can find him on Twitter at Tom__Coleman, Coleman. And I promise you, if you follow what he's doing, you will learn a lot about driving traffic to your website. So that's our shout out for today. And I want to also announce I'm going to run a little contest for anyone who's watching. If you catch me looking down, I'm trying to learn how to be a better broadcaster. And one of my biggest problems is that I look down all the time. So if you catch me looking down, leave a comment. And you get 3 months of Indie Gold on Today's Visions free. That's a almost $45 value.
Wow.
So if you catch me looking down, give a shout out. And what we're going to be talking about today is healing with art. I found a wonderful article, some research that had been done that actually proves, and I didn't know this, we have a part of our brain that does nothing but recognize beauty. And when it's triggered, it sends chemicals running through our body that produces joy. Right there gives meaning to what artists do. So, you know, for people who tell you if you're an artist and people are telling you that you're wasting your time, you're not. You are giving so much to our society.
Amen.
Joyce, I think you went through this. You want to tell us about that experience?
Yeah, I'd be happy to share with you. On October 8th, 2011, I had a ruptured brain aneurysm and nearly died. I was in Redding, California at the time, and there were 2 hospitals there that could not treat me, so I was flown down to Sutter General in Sacramento. Had a surgeon waiting for me, a wonderful little 4'11" Italian lady, Letitia Antoinetti, saved my life. And to bypass all of that anyway, I was in ICU for several weeks. And laying in that bed after coming out of surgery, I realized that I was getting frustrated. I mean, literally. The light bothered me, the noises bothered me, people bothered me, and I had to find something to help me to get beyond that, or I just wasn't going to come out of it. Mm-hmm. I picked up the TV control because I'm laying there in bed with all kinds of contraptions hooked up to me, both arms full of tubes, and basically that was all I could do was pick up the TV control, and I started browsing through the channels, and probably about 100 channels into this browse I came across one that was artwork. Pretty much 95% of it was photography, and I stopped on the first image that came up and sat there and looked at it, and these images would come across the screen about every 5 to 7 seconds. And it was exactly what I needed at that time. It took my mind off of how I felt, occupied my mind, obviously, but on top of all that, it made me feel good. Now, here I am practically dying, And after a day of looking at this artwork, which was nonstop, 24/7, no advertisements, no interruptions of any kind, I actually started feeling good. I mean, literally, my mind felt good, my body felt good. Don't ask me how, I felt fine. And about 3 days into this, my neurosurgeon comes in and examines me, and she was a little surprised. And she told me so, that I was, the progression of my healing had far surpassed what she had anticipated for that period of time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, you know, she said she was surprised. The only thing that I can contribute that to, and I swear on a stack of Bibles, there was nothing else. It had to have been the art. I found that I can look at art, whether it's a photograph or a painting, or maybe even listen to music. You know, that's another form of art. And I don't just see it or don't just hear it. I feel it. And I didn't realize before laying in that hospital bed that I had that ability. But it's an ability that's inherent. We all have it. And you just have to be receptive to it. We all look at art and say, oh, that's just beautiful. Oh, look at that. But you can feel it. And when you have that ability to feel it, it changes your life. I really believe it has changed my life. I was into art long before this aneurysm. But it's different now. I see and feel things that I never thought possible. And it's a good feeling. You know, it can change your life. I'm not saying it's going to heal you. You still need your medication probably and a very good surgeon and all that. But it can certainly help. And it will lift your spirits. As you stated in that testing that they did on those 21 people, the endorphins is what is released when you see this beauty in art. It releases these endorphins in you. Endorphins trigger joy. Joy triggers love. It's all relative, you know. It's just, it's wonderful. And I really contribute the beauty in art for helping me heal. And that's why we're having this discussion today. And I hope that everyone will really believe that it is possible. It's helped me so much. And I could go into detail and I could talk about it all day, but people just have to be more receptive to the fact that it is a healing tool. And I truly believe that.
I think for me the part that really clicked with me was the fact that it adds value to what artists are doing for our society.
Exactly.
Too often I hear parents telling their children, oh, you can't study art. That's a worthless thing to study. And yet it's healing. It's beautiful, and it just adds so much to our lives. What do you think, Mark?
Well, you just touched on you know, a very important piece right there. I think that you both did, but I mean the whole piece about, you know, discouraging children. You know, we are all born creative. It's part of our being, and it becomes stifled over time through the duality of the reality we exist in our physical state. And we start, you know, listening to mores and things, the do's, the don'ts, what's right, what's wrong. I'll never forget when I was, I think I was in kindergarten, and I'm sure of it, and was doing some coloring. It was part of art in the school, you know, and I colored this girl's hair blue. And I was told, no, you can't do that. Girl, you don't. People don't have blue hair. I love the color blue, well, they can have. Now, let's fast forward to today, and how many different colors of hair do you see out there? So it's great that we can accept that, but that's the way it was. It was and I can think of what is his name? I always I also find the same kind of things from music, the same kind of feelings and healing. And Harry Chapin actually wrote a song about exactly that. Green leaves are green, and so forth. And it was exactly that topic. And of course, it really hit home to me. To simplify, I think what Joyce was saying, because to me it is really, there is a science, as you talked about, behind Arizona, but to me it's really quite simple, yet it's also quite remarkable at the same time. When we are creating, we're using our imagination, which begins in our subconscious. This was subconscious is where our purest self exists, our truest, infinite, magnificent, and loving self, our soul.
Right.
When we're tapped into that, we are our happiest, and therefore our healthiest being.
Well, do you think, is it your opinion then that when we look at art, because this study was all about people looking at art, not actually creating art, do you think that when we are actually looking at art that we're tapping into our creative self?
Absolutely, absolutely. It's the very same thing. Again, when you're looking at art, you don't always see what the artist saw. And your imagination, again, is at work, which, again, a lot of that begins in your subconscious. So absolutely, there's a tremendous great well-being and happiness that can come from viewing art as much as in creating it. And that's the beautiful side of sharing it. But to back up a little bit, it is totally healthy to be a little bit selfish and appreciate your own happiness that you're getting out of creating it. Then what happens is you're just, you want to share it anyway. It just becomes a natural thing.
Right.
And other people are going to get something from you sharing it. And they're going to see, like I say, something different, but their imagination is going to work.
So Joyce, when you after your aneurysm and your recovery, have you found that you're more in tune with the healing effect of art? Have you found that your art has changed any?
I believe it has. Yeah. It's gotten better, I know that, but I see things differently now. Before I would go out and shoot my pictures, because photography is my main art, though now I'm branching out into digital painting a little bit. But I actually see things in frames. Everything I look at now, it's not like this great big huge view. I see frames, and I see art pictures. When I go to shoot them, I can project in my head what they're going to look like. It's amazing, and I never had that ability.
So
I don't know,
having to walk around doing the picture frame thing anymore.
I just see it, and I don't know if that would have evolved to that anyway. Aneurysm or not. Perhaps with time it would have. But I certainly enjoy it, and it has changed my life. I am so glad that I ventured off into doing photography full time. I was working as an accountant, commercial accountant, and back in 2003 I'd come back from vacation with a bunch of pictures to share, snapshots of my vacation. And one of my coworkers told me, I think you can sell these. And I just kind of laughed it off,
Mm-hmm.
But it stayed in the back of my head. And about 6 months later, I joined my first art site, and I was very surprised when I sold my first image. And I don't sell a lot, but I do sell one now and then, and it's always such a good feeling. And I do like to share my work. You know, it's not just about selling. I like to hear how it affects other people, their interpretation of it. You know, like Mark was saying, everyone sees things differently. We don't exactly see what the artist sees. And I love reading the comments. You know, when I go in to look at an image, I will not just post my comment. I like to read what everybody else sees and feels in that artist's work. So
That's awesome.
yeah, really enjoy it.
Well, Mark, you went through a medical problem also. Did you have the opportunity to use art or view art to help you through the healing process? Because I know a lot of hospitals now, because this is becoming so scientifically proven, are adding art to their walls.
Yes, actually, it's not a bad source to look into in trying to sell your art, actually, in hospitals and doctors' offices. Absolutely, it did have, it has always had a therapeutic effect on me anyway. Again, they put it to the simplest form. I enjoy photography. The biggest reason I capture light in images is because I love it, because I enjoy it. And there's nothing that's going to heal you better than happiness, joy, than doing what you love. I went through a long period of healing, of recovery. I was in ICU for many weeks as well. I think we can stretch that into months. I was actually in coma for a few weeks. I, to this day, don't know exactly how many weeks. The doctors and my family will only say a few weeks, and that's good enough for me. You know, I definitely, I went on other journeys while I was in that coma and learned a lot of things. But when I was finally, and it became a goal to be able to pick up my camera again, and I was too weak for months to even be able to do that. I lost over half my body weight, and again, you know, being hospitalized for as long as I was, with multiple issues. It was a long time before I could pick up my camera. An interesting thing was there was a lot of things I had to learn how to do again, if not just for my physical body to learn how to do them. For instance, walking. And I was a long time in a wheelchair and struggling to get in and out of one. And I'm telling you these things, folks. Don't feel bad the least bit for me for this. You know, it's not why. You know, it's I don't at all. I'm very thankful for it because of what's come out of it. Anyway, to get back on track here, when I was finally able to pick up my camera, the thing that amazed me was it wasn't something I had to relearn. You know, I had been doing it since, again, I was 6 years old, and it all just came right back to me.
That's
And
pretty awesome.
it was frustrating at first. I remember it was actually right about this time in 2012 when I first picked it up again because I wanted to be able to shoot family pictures at Thanksgiving. And it was very frustrating because I did not have the mobility to do what I normally would do, you know. But, you know, I kept at it, and it was definitely a big therapy, and I started shooting, you know, as much as I could, and then the better I got, the more I could shoot, and now, you know, it's a absolute a healer. You know, art, any creative venue or whatever you want to call it, genre, you know, music, very, very soothing, can be very, very healing, you know, combine the two. You know, someone said to me a long time ago, if you want to be a better photographer, read books about photography. And the same can be applied if you want to be a better painter. Read books about painting. If you want to be a better artist, read books that stimulate your imagination, that inspire you, or do things that inspire you, view things that inspire you, and that's going to make you a better artist. So it's all enriching you.
That's true.
So, Joyce, do you want to add anything to the discussion? I found it shocking that they only did 21 people, because that's really not a statistically significant amount. But I think if they were to do 100 people or 1,000 people, they would find the same results.
I think they would. I was a little surprised to that same effect, I found it interesting that the groups that they did were 4, 8, 12, and 16-second intervals. And music actually triggered the senses, I guess is the term I want to use, a little bit quicker than actually the visual end of it. Music came in the first 3 groups, the 4, 8, and 12 seconds, and the visual end of it came in at the 8, 12, and 16 seconds. But all in all, the end result is the same. And I think any form of creativity, anything that you enjoy, is going to trigger the same effect. There's been a study done since, I think it was in June of 2014, and a doctor from Berkeley, the UC Berkeley, did it. And basically, the bottom line, and I'd like to read it. It's just a very short paragraph. I don't want to mess it up. This is the bottom line from her study. It says the resulting hormones lower blood pressure and slow our respiratory rates. In other words, perceiving objects of beauty is like practicing medicine or yoga. These activities set off chemical effects that create and support emotional states of happiness, calm, compassion, and joy. And that pretty much sums up what we've been saying here today.
Right.
There's no arguing with it. It's been proven. I'm living proof. Mark's living proof. It's a real and honest thing. It's not a catchphrase. It's not something to shrug off. It's really true. And I just hope everyone who's interested in the arts at all in being creative will not let people talk them out of it. Don't let people tell you you're not worthy of that or it's not good enough. Not that long ago, I did a little digital piece of artwork, probably 4 or 5 years ago, and it was my first attempt. And I actually had a fellow artist, I will classify myself in that group, tell me that I should stick to photography. And boy, if that wasn't a thorn in my side. And you know that gave me more and more get up and go, and I was not going to stop. There was no holding me back. And little by little, I mean, it took me a while, but little by little, I kept working with my digital programs. You really have to learn your software and, of course, your camera and anything you're working with, and practice.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm at a level now with my digital art where I am really, really comfortable. And just in the past couple weeks, I feel like I've really been validated. I've not sold any of my digital, well, I take that back. I did sell some digital work. I sold a piece, believe it or not, it began with a coloring book sketch. And it was a mom and baby giraffe, and I called it Unconditional Love. And I just added color to it, and I added a bit of my own artwork and posterized it, watercolored it, several different layers, and I'm really happy with it. And I have actually sold that piece a couple times.
Well, and that piece is actually on the trailer for the show, too.
Yes, that is the one, yeah. And the validation that I'm talking about is from actual artists who paint with a brush in hand, you know, what I call the true artists. And I've had a lot of feedback in the last couple of weeks from 4 or 5 individuals that I put up on a pedestal because I just love their work, and I think they're the greatest artists in the world. And they have told me to keep it up, that I'm doing very well, and that actually one of them told me that my work is just as good as if I had used a brush. So, you know, there's always hope, and I'm patting myself on the back.
I think you do that.
And I think everybody should, because we're all creative to a certain degree, and if you enjoy it, it's going to make you feel better, and that's what it's all about, you know. Yes. Bringing on those good feelings, and those good feelings aren't just mental, they attribute to your physical health as well. Absolutely. So I just encourage everybody to keep at it. Don't let anyone tell you, no, you can't do that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have about 4 minutes left. I wanted to make a really quick comment. I found it very interesting, Joyce, in this study that the auditory, the music, was felt quicker than the visual art. And I wonder, on my part, when I'm doing my artwork, I listen to music, and it seems to encourage what I'm doing.
Mm-hmm. I agree.
That kind of validated that for me.
Yeah. You know, the first thing I do in the morning when I get up, even before I make coffee, is I turn on the music. And it's the last thing I do when I go to bed at night. I turn it off. And it's always there in the background. I don't know what I would do without music. It's another form of art. It brings out those good feelings, and it does help me create, I think. You know, I don't have it with me when I'm out in the field, but I could certainly if I wanted to. But I'm hearing the beautiful music of the birds and the wind in the trees and nature itself, and I just take it all in and embrace it, you know. But
I do absolutely the same thing. In fact, I even many times go to sleep listening to music, and I've got it on a timer that shuts it off, you know, after an hour or so. So, but yeah, music is constantly, you know, if we were doing this at this moment, there'd be music on here.
My mom is 93, and she has music going all the time in her home, you know, every day. You walk into her home, it doesn't matter what time it is, that music's going. And she's 93. She's doing very well.
That's cool. So I think for me, the big, huge lesson learned is if you are younger and thinking about getting into the art field, it is a valuable field to get into. If you are an artist, you should be proud at what you're giving to the world. You're giving them a healing power that is just incredible. And if you're an art supporter, you know, go out and buy from your favorite artist, because that encourages them to continue creating this healing power that is there.
That's right.
And you can see Mark Myhaver you didn't put your website on your lower third.
Oh, I didn't.
It's myhaverphotography.com. Am I correct?
I thought it was on the one that you sent. Oh.
Yeah.
Yes, myhaverphotography.com. Thank you.
And Joyce, you can find Joyce at her Fine Art America profile. She's also has a website on Today's Visions. Just go to Today's Visions and hit the drop-down box in the upper right, or just do a search from the very top for Joyce, and you can see her website there. And she'll have a feature on in the galleries. Probably tomorrow night. So I'll get it done.
Thank you, dear. You're a sweetheart.
Nah, just doing my thing.
Well, I certainly appreciate you both having me on the show today. It's been awesome and great fun and very informative, and I hope everyone enjoyed it. I'm sure they did.
I hope so. Mark, you got any final words?
I guess something I could read that if you want to be inspired a little bit, something that trigger that your imagination. And this is something that was sent to me on Facebook by Stanza Wyden, who's, you know, a friend and another great artist, I think, who I featured on Today's Visions. But I'm not sure exactly where it originated. But it begins, before you judge others or claim any absolute truth, consider that. You can see less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum and hear less than 1% of the acoustic spectrum. As you read this, or as you listen to this, you are traveling at 220 kilometers per second across the galaxy. 90% of the cells in your body carry their own microbial DNA and are not you. The atoms in your body are 99.99999% empty space, and none of them are the ones you were born with. But they all originate in the belly of a star. Human beings have 46 chromosomes, 2 less than the common potato. The existence of the rainbow depends on the conical photoreceptors in your eyes. To animals without cones, the rainbow does not exist. So you don't just look at a rainbow, you create it. This is pretty amazing, especially considering that all the beautiful colors you see represent less than 1% of the electromagnetic spectrum. And, you know, to me, that's just an amazing thing. Just think about it. Just think about it.
That brings up another whole conversation that we could have about, because I've always wondered, do you see red the same way I see red?
Yeah. I guess we're born creative. We're born, you know, if you've ever had the pleasure of watching a baby that's just starting to be able to see, really, it's amazing. You think, if you put yourself in what they're seeing, all of a sudden, I mean, it's wow. And you can see that. You know, the last time I had the greatest pleasure of it was when the last time I was back in New England, and it was just a week after my granddaughter was born, and I had a few minutes alone with her, and just she's at this point, this was probably 2 to 3 weeks later actually, and she's really starting to, you can see that she's starting to see things. She's being aware of, you know, who I am and so forth, and I just started talking to her, and it's just, you know, just imagine, put yourself, you know, if you can, in that instant when all of a sudden, you know, these things are, again, you're actually creating what you're seeing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
that's
pretty fascinating, incredible. Pretty amazing.
So we're gonna have to say goodbye. Pardon, Mark?
I said, just have fun creating. You know,
yeah,
it'll make you healthy. It'll help you.
So we're gonna have to say goodbye for this edition of Talking Art. I am so very glad you joined us. If you're watching this on the replay, the same thing goes. If you catch me looking down, tell me what time it was when I looked down, and you will get 3 months of Indie Gold free on Today's Visions. And I encourage you to go out and visit todaysvisions.com. Everybody have a wonderful day and a wonderful Thanksgiving.
Thank you.
Thank you all.